Okay, so just a few little preliminary thoughts on Hinduism this morning. And the first thing I like to do is look at maps. You guys know about my love of maps. So this is a map of India. Let me bring my clicker with me. Got my thing here, so I know my pointer. Anybody been to India? Anybody been to India? So India is an incredible place. I will encourage each and every one of you, if you have a chance, when you graduate, take some time off and travel. I think that's one of the best things you can do. And if you have a chance to go to India, I really, really highly recommend it. It's a really incredible, magical place that is very, very different than what you're used to. That's about the only way to really put it. Very different than what you're used to. It's a big country. It has lots of different kinds of people. It's been around for a long time. It has interesting neighbors. The nice thing about it is, for as kind of alien and strange as it is, most people speak English. Okay, most people speak English, so you can get around with English, which is really great. Now, let's talk about Hinduism. Hinduism originated in India. 1 out of every 6 people on the planet is a Hindu. Hinduism is practiced by 80% of the population of India, Nepal, and Bali. Many Hindus have immigrated to other countries, including the U.S. And there's around 60 million Hindus outside of India in the world, and 700 to 800 million in India proper. India is a big place, a lot of people. The United States has over 1 million Hindu people. Hinduism is now kind of a global religion. And you also have to realize that India used to be a lot bigger place. So what we see now in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Bangladesh, these were all part of India. India stretched especially up into what was now Afghanistan and Pakistan. Those were all at one point part of the Indian subcontinent and part of the place in India. It's considered to be India. Okay. Now, the split of India into Pakistan and Bangladesh, or the main part of India, that happened relatively recently. That happened after India gained its independence in, I want to say, I think it's 1947. They gained their independence from England, and there was the Pax, the British Pax, the British peace kept everybody together. So, if the British made sure everybody got along when they ruled India. But once they left, what happens is that old rivalries, old problems come up again, and groups start to have problems with each other. And this eventually leads to the idea of segregating the country, splitting the country out, and they have the splitting out of the country. And what happens is lots of the Muslim people go to what is now Pakistan and Bangladesh, and the people who are Hindu stay in India. But you still have Muslims in India proper, especially up here in the north part, up near Kashmir, to the north, up in the border areas. You have lots of Muslim people. The division of India, the partition, was really a very traumatic event. A lot of people got killed. There was a lot of genocide, a lot of problems. Not a happy time for India. The tensions between India and Pakistan are really still quite present. And it's a little bit of a problem because Pakistan and India are both nuclear capable countries. They both have missiles aimed at each other. And a lot of people believe that if there was going to be a nuclear conflict started in modern times, it'll probably be between Pakistan and India. A lot of people think that's the case because Pakistan, has got lots of issues. They are ostensibly an ally of America, but they're kind of frenemies, There's Taliban still operates in Pakistan. Some people feel like some of the people in the military have ties to the Taliban, things like this. It's a little bit, of a mixed picture with Pakistan. And there's been this ongoing conflict between Pakistan and India, a lot of border conflicts, especially up in the northern parts here, and a lot of saber rattling that we hope does not turn into actual fighting. India also has a border with China up there. You can't see the slide too carefully. There's a little dotted line up there in the northern border. This is the most disputed border area in the entire world. There have been more border skirmishes in this area between India and China than any other two countries, I think, in the history, in recorded history. These areas still, as far as I know, have not decided, agreed on a border. Every once in a while, a plane will fly across, or somebody will shoot across the thing, and people will shoot at each other, and these little skirmishes up there. Even though India and China are ostensibly not, terribly hostile to each other, this little area has been problematic for quite a long time. India is now, I'm going to talk a little bit about India. India is now, become a superpower. It's on its way to becoming a superpower. It is a fairly third world country. When I was there many, many years ago, definitely third world country, but it is modernized quite a bit. And it is, they have very, very good technological capabilities. And so, we see India as, at some point is going to really emerge into one of the great world powers. And some people speculate that its nearness to China will cause some problems because, of course, China is a world power. And so, whether or not there'll be some issues with that or not, we do know that China up here, this part of China where it says China, that's actually Tibet, that the Chinese invaded, and we're going to talk to you about that later. They have a lot of missiles there pointed down at India. So we know that, again, hopefully we won't get any problems between China and India. That would be very bad. But Pakistan and India is very sketchy world situation. Okay, Indian civilization is quite ancient. There are two very ancient sites in India, ancient civilizations, at Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. These were along what was the Indus River, which is dried up now. You can still see here, you can see these mounds and there's remnants of the civilization. This civilization was really quite advanced for its time. They had plumbing and toilets and things like that. Really quite advanced. The river dried up, and I think the speculation is that the civilization sort of faded out because the rivers. There was a lot of these early river civilizations, and this river faded out, and so civilization also faded. And so the word Hindu comes from the name of this river, the Indus River, and it comes from a Persian geographical term used to designate the people who live beyond the borders of the river, of the Indus River. Which is, in the Sanskrit for that is Sindhu. And the word also arises in 6th century Sanskrit texts as to contrast people in India to Muslims. So if you're not Muslim, then you're something else. You're these people who live beyond the border of the river, and you will call you a Hindu. And then there's also a term al-Hind, which is Arabic for the word Hindu. And then when the British came to India, they began referring to Hindus during the 18th century in a manner that was synonymous to somebody who lived in India. So anybody in India, to the British, could be a Hindu. Okay? Hinduism was the term designated for high caste Brahmins in 1830 by the British. And later on, this was later adapted as a national identity by Indian people. And of course, there's a whole nationalist Hindu movement and political party in India now. Okay? And we start talking about definitions of Hinduism. And Hinduism is a very vast and profound religion. Hindus worship, I don't want to say one, I should change this slide. Really, some kind of supreme reality. Can be called by many names. It can be personified into gods. It could not. It also teaches that all souls can ultimately achieve salvation. There's no eternal hell, no damnation. And Hindus tend to accept all spiritual paths as being genuine, and from monotheistic to pantheistic to non-theistic as being potentially ways to gain spiritual knowledge. Each soul is free to find their own way, whether by devotion, austerity, meditation, or yoga, or selfless service. There's stress placed on temple worship, reading the scriptures, and the guru-disciple tradition. Festivals, pilgrimages, chanting of holy hymns, and home worship are also typical practices. Love, nonviolence, good conduct, and the law of Dharma define the Hindu path. Hindus believe that the soul reincarnates until all karma is resolved and the realization of God or realization of this greater reality is attained. It's a mystical religion, and people must find their own experience. Okay, it's not given to you by a church or by a guru. You have to go out and experience the mystical stuff for yourself. Okay? All right, I think that's what I'm going to tell you about Hinduism. Maybe we'll pick this up next time.